What's up, Coach? Are you coming back to Boston next year?
What a bunch of crap. He's not coming back. I don't know, man. Maybe he just needs a little more persuading. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm just saying give it a shot. You never know what might happen. You're like the most persuasive guy I know. I'm the most persuasive guy you know? Yeah, you're like a hockey Patrick Swayze. Is that a Dirty Dancing reference? Not the point. All I'm saying is you should give it a try. Come on, come up with something. You know what, you're right. I am pretty persuasive. All right, give me a second. I'll put down some ideas real quick. Okay, I got it. A list of reasons Krejci should come back. Once he sees this, it's a sure thing. Oscar Steen's massive... nope, that's for something else. We'll just... Here it is. Here. Yep. I hope you're taking this seriously. This is a picture of you sobbing. Do you think he'll like it? I just miss him so much. Maybe you're more of a Chris Farley than a Patrick Swayze, huh? Low quality fans of a high quality Bruins team. What's up? I don't know if I like this whole week by week thing. I feel like it just takes a really long time between episodes. Like I need the break, but also like, I don't know. I might need to work on some other project stuff to make sure that there's more stuff coming out. Because I don't think week by week is really doing it for me. I don't think it's doing it for you. I don't think it's doing it. But we're going to talk today about Cassidy, and we're going to talk about Sweeney. And I'm going to be honest. Sweeney, bigger conversation, in my opinion, and in the video's opinion, because I guarantee by the time I'm done, most of it's going to be based on Sweeney. Before we get to that, the Krejci stuff, forget it. Not even really addressing it other than the opener. I don't think he's coming back. I think it's a fun little thing to giggle about. I'm not going to get mad at people for like entertaining the idea. I might roll my eyes every now and again, but like you do you guys. It's the off season. You got to find something to talk about, right? Marchand. Surgery on both his hips. Holy shit. I would be panicking about that kind of surgery if not for the confidence the front office showed and the casual like, yeah, he's just getting the surgery. He might be out for a couple months to start next season. People have said that, or speculated, I guess, that because he's doing this, it makes sense that Bergeron's not coming back. I disagree. I don't think that's how that works. I still am really not sure with Bergeron. I believe he's coming back. I'm going to stay believing he's coming back because I, again, can't handle the alternative. So, yeah, I'm not that worried about the Marchand stuff, even though a double hip surgery sounds terrifying, especially when you talk about production on the ice. I'm just going to go along with the overall vibe that everything's fine. Everything's fine. We're fine, right? We're fine. I'm not panicking at all. We're going to start with Cassidy because the Cassidy conversation has to bleed into the Sweeney conversation. Bleed. You know, like bleed is moving away from the team. That doesn't really work. That was kind of a ham-fisted, not a good joke. But hey, it's got to go through Cassidy first. And I'm going to rattle off some stats of the team that should reflect on him. 8th in wins, 10th in points. You take that every year. 15th in goals for per game. Don't love that. It's middle of the pack as middle of the pack comes. 4th in goals allowed. Love that. Pretty typical, though. We're usually around there. 15th in power play percentage, 9th in penalty kill. We take the penalty kill top 10. I think we had enough talent to be top 10 power play percentage. Not sure what happened there. 2nd in shots per game, 3rd in shots allowed per game. I was harsh on Cassidy through the first half of the season, and I was pretty vocal about how he should have a hot seat midway through the season when we're playing fake 500 hockey. I didn't love it. I didn't love what we had put together. I thought the team had more potential than it was showing. But I don't think I gave enough respect to what it takes for these guys to gel. We had a lot of new pieces, a lot of important pieces to replace. I really do believe that I should have respected the process a little bit more. I sound like a Philly fan now, but I should have respected the process. I think the second half of the season clears up a lot of worries about the first half because of the stretch of time that it was. I think he did pretty solid this year. I really do. He did fall over some pretty obvious blocks The 4-bore on the top pair early in the season was, I mean, even your casual fans were going, what the fuck are you doing? And it looked awful. So I'm glad he finally got away from that. But for the most part, there weren't too many things where you could sit there as your armchair coach, armchair GM, and be like, what the fuck? Cassidy did what he could with what he was given. The biggest concern to me is the second in shots per game, but 15th in goals for per game. That ain't right. And I think a lot of it stems from when you watch this team, a lot of the shots were one and done. And then we would turn it over, or we would get the puck back in the neutral zone, go right back in, one and done. There weren't enough players capitalizing on the front of the net, on the rebounds that we created. We were shooting into the chest very frequently. I really think a conservative message was preached through most of the season. And it really affected our offensive output. Cassidy has already been forthcoming about maybe needing to change things up, to take some more chances, to change the structure, to allow the team to score a few more goals. Because if you're 15th in goals for per game and 4th in goals allowed, is the season different if you're 8th in goals allowed and 8th in goals for? I think so. I think you end up with a better result than getting wiped out in round 1, personally. Another point to make about Cassidy before we actually give out the grade is the playoffs. Not being able to win a game on the road. Do you put it on him or do you put it on Sweeney? Cassidy can't get the matchups he wants on 4 road games. The matchups that he did want had us pretty dominant at home. But as soon as you took us away from where we wanted to be, we just got smoked. Game 7 was the closest one. That was a pretty good game, but games 1, 2, and 5 were not good. Not good. Personally, I think that kind of reflects on Sweeney more than Cassidy, which I know is kind of a bizarre statement. But it really felt like he was capped out on talent. The Canes could roll more lines than us. We couldn't win a matchup, really win a matchup, because we didn't have the pieces needed. I think that was a big part of it. Now, obviously, if you have a fully healthy McAvoy and Lindholm for that whole series, maybe things are different. Maybe. But ifs and buts, candies and nuts, guys. At the end of the day, you got to deal with what you got. I'm going to say Cassidy had a pretty solid season. I'd give him a B. I wouldn't quite give him an A. I think there was still some room to grow. I think he should have recognized earlier that there's more to give on the offensive side. And not being able to score obviously cost the team. But I still think Cassidy is the right coach to lead the way. See, that conversation was easy. No funny business, nothing crazy. Just talking a little Cassidy, little hockey, little numbers. I'm not a big X's and O guy. I try to be. But when it comes to critiquing coaching, I kind of have to go with the obvious and the end result and be a hindsight Harry. I'm not upset about that. And I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of different takes. I'd love to hear people's take on what you think about how he handled the goalie situation. I thought he did the best he could, and no one really grabbed the position by the balls. But I think there's going to be some varying degrees on that. I'd like to hear what you think he should have done with the 4th line. Continuing to play Foligno, I think, again, was more of a front office thing than a Cassidy thing. I think there was limitations to what he got to do. I'd like to hear your take, especially on that Foligno controversy and the goaltending situation. But let's talk about Sweeney. Like, comment, subscribe. Nailed it. Sweeney, we're gonna rock through some stuff here. This is a reminder, all right? So we're gonna go first thing first. Important signings since July 7th, 2021, up until the deadline, which is a conclusion of last year's playoffs up until this trade deadline. Carlo, 6 years, 4.1 AAV. That's the annual average money. I forget what AAV stands for at the moment, but it's how much money he makes per year against the cap. Taylor Hall, 4 years, $6 million. Mike Riley, 3 years, $3 million. Nosek, 2 years, $1.75 million. Howla, 2 years, $2.375 million. Forbort, 3 years, $3 million. Olmark, 4 years, $5 million. McAvoy, 8 years, $9.5 bucks. That's a lot of money. Worth every penny. Tuca, a 1x1. You didn't think I was going to name Tuca? Yeah, 1 year, 1 million. Lindholm, 8 years, 6.5 million. DeBrusque, 2x4, so 2 years, 4 million. Callahan, 880,000 for 2 years. McLaughlin, 880,000 for 2 years. Boosie, 825,000 for a year. Merkulov, the name, 3 years, 925,000. I figured I'd name a couple of those guys at the end there. This is just filling the cupboards because we don't have a lot of prospects in drafting and whatnot. I am not judging his season off of the draft or off of the prospects. I think that gets too convoluted, too many avenues to take, and we don't know what we got out of this draft this last year yet anyway. So that feels a little too unfair. The signings, though, I mean, there's the good, bad, and the ugly, right? The good, Hall, $6 million for 4 years. I think we're all pretty happy with that, especially if the cap does increase sometime soon. McAvoy, 8 by 9.5. Yeah, come on. I mean, there was no argument that he was going to get close to that. I wish it got a little lower, but I'm not mad at that contract by any means. Howla, 2 years, 2.375. Now, I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about Howla, but keep in mind, 2 years, a lot of these had the idea of flexibility in mind, knowing that a rebuild was coming, a retool even. But Howla for 2, Nosek for 2, Riley 3, Forbort 3. I mean, these are tradable contracts with low years. A lot of guys want term. I think it was really impressive that he was going to fill up around the edges with these contracts that weren't long-term. I thought that was impressive. I think he deserves respect for that. Olmark, the 4x5. I still really like Olmark. I know he had a bad showing in the playoffs. I know there's going to be some thoughts about him next year, whether or not he can be the guy. But I still think that was a great signing. It makes a big difference. And I still think it's a very tradable contract if you could talk Olmark out of the no trade clause or no move clause. I forget exactly how that's built out. But I like that contract. The bad will be Forbort because he's overpaid. Really, 3 years, $3 million is a lot for a third pairing guy. But he played so well down the stretch as that third pairing guy, you could almost just sweep that money under the rug and just be like, you know what? That's fine. At least he's serviceable. And he was really, really good at the penalty kill. He had a really rough start to this season. I'm really happy. I just wish we were paying him $1.5 million less. And the ugly. Name one. Some of you may name Carlo, 6 years, 4.1. I don't know. That still feels very tradable to me. What else, though? None of these are that bad. Riley, the signing made all the sense in the world when it happened. Yeah, maybe you look at it now and you're like, all right, that's a pretty good amount of money for a guy who kind of became a 7th D until Grizz got completely smoked. But I think Mike Riley's worth that. Other than that, I don't think there's really any bad ones. The Lindholm, that was the cost of doing business, 8 by 6.5 mil. That's not a deal in my book, but it's certainly not an overpayment. And DeBrusque, very tradable. That's what he kept in mind. So I don't think any of his signings, as usual, were really that bad. And the trade this year, trades, I should say. Let's talk about the trades for a second. Here's what we got. Vladar for a third. Bet you forgot about that one. Let's call that one a wash. I thought it was a good trade. A lot of people really didn't like it. Vladar was trusted this much by Calgary throughout their entire season. Vladar for a third is fine. Senyshyn and a 5th for Joshua Brown and a 7th. Who cares? There's a guy who wasn't going to play for us and a 5th for a guy who barely played for us and a 7th. I don't know. I understood the reason getting him in case it was kind of a deep run. You needed some big bodies in the middle of a series or something. I was fine with that. I don't think it's a bad trade. The big one obviously is, and this is where we start to get more negative, John Moore's contract, Vakanainen, a 1st and 2 seconds for Lindholm, 50% retained, and Curran. Curran? I don't know how to say that guy's name. We're never going to see him in an actual NHL sweater. Lindholm, great asset, great player, great grab. Did we pay full price for him? Yeah, but I think Lindholm's worth it from what we've seen. He is going to be a huge part of this team going forward, and the first 5 years of his contract should be really good. And that's what we're asking for right now. So I'm pumped about the Lindholm stuff. The big thing about this, though, the most critical part of Sweeney's season, he bolsters the defense. The defense looks great. but you ignore the offense. But not on purpose. You see, when you made that Lindholm trade, you gave up an extra second to get John Moore over there. At least we're presuming that, right? You also give up a second to get 50% retained on Lindholm to save more money. That 50% retained is lost money now. It's gone. It is assets wasted because you never grabbed secondary scoring. And what got us out of the playoffs? Secondary scoring. None of us actually give a shit about the assets, right? None of us care about the money that was wasted. Like, no one gives a shit about that. What we care about, and the red flag here, is that coming into the season, and last season, and the season before that, but this season, our problem was secondary scoring. We thought we addressed some of it, and then Krejci left. We needed more secondary scoring. And sure, we had portions. Third line looked hot for a little while there. Second line actually got a little bump once Pasta got dropped, and DeBrusk was serviceable on that top line. But you could still see it. You could still see it. We weren't climbing the rankings of offensive output once that started happening. We really weren't. We were still pretty solidly middle of the pack. And it just was not addressed at the deadline. There are arguments as to why. Hey, maybe the deal wasn't out there. I call bullshit on that. I really do. But hey, maybe the deal wasn't out there. You can believe that. Hey, maybe there was a deal out there, but it was so steep, it just wasn't worth it. That, I think, is a better argument than just there wasn't a deal to be made. That being said, it didn't have to be a giant swing. It really didn't. If you thought that DeBrusk was serviceable on the top line and that you had Howla on the middle of the second and that was going to be good enough, you got to get somebody else who can put the puck in the net for the third line. You really do. You had to get somebody else in, and you never did. And I think a lot of us sat there and went, well, Frederick Coyle-Smith is a fun line, but we're going to need somebody with a little more offensive pop. Smith is decent about it. Coyle's been good, but Frederick really was continuing to be the weakest link of that line. You could improve on Frederick, and even if you really thought highly of Frederick, and I was changing my tune on him too, I really got into him. But you could have improved on that position. You needed a little more. You needed someone to give you another little boost, and you didn't get anything. I did a whole rant on this during the trade deadline. I don't want to do it again. But that's one of the most damning things about this. This season, you go into the year, you've been great defensively for years and years and years, and you, again, don't do shit for the actual offense. You can argue Howla and Nosek, but Nosek was supposed to be a fourth-line guy. Maybe third. And Howla, I mean, yeah, he looked good the second half of the season, in the regular season, but he wasn't a true 2C, and we knew it. You needed to add a little something more. Now, I'm not so pissed off about it that I'm going to give the guy an F. Like, I can't give Sweeney an F. I thought a lot of the signings he had were really good. I thought the trade was good. Good. Not great. Good. But he doesn't get an average either. You went into the season with an issue. You made signings that you thought solved the issue that didn't. So let's be clear about that. I don't get to give him a pass because he thought he solved it. You either solved it or you didn't. 2 + 2 = 4. We know the answer is 4. We have solved it. Just because you put 3 thinking you solved it, you didn't solve it. That didn't make a lot of sense. But I can't give him bonus points. Bony points. I can't give him boner points just because he fucking tried. It's your job to try. I'm giving Sweeney a D. A D+. I'll give him a D+. I really can't believe the same conversation happens every year with him, which is, hey, when are we going to fix the offense to actually, make a deep run here? Like, come on. Talk about injury luck. Talk about whatever you want. We got beat in the first round again. Your GM doesn't get a passing grade, doesn't get a good grade when you get beat in the first round, unless you're the Kings and you didn't even expect to be there. So Sweeney gets the D. He gets the D. I'm not out on Sweeney. I'm not. But he's got to solve this issue next year. Next year. Got to be resolved. Because I can't believe we're still talking about the same thing. Alright guys, that does it for me. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. This feels like a really ranty episode. I'm going to get back to doing fun stuff soon, I promise. I just feel like I ranted on this one. But please give me your takes below. I know a lot of them are going to be fuck Sweeney. That's fine. I mean, if you don't like him, you don't like him. I do think he deserves credit on certain things. I don't think he's a horrible GM. I am a little nervous that we're going to have the same conversation a year from now. I really am. But for now, I'm confident we're lifting the cup next year. Let's go! Go Bees!